Hey there, and welcome to Manotick StringWorks. Glad to have you here. Please remember to like and subscribe for more video content. Alright, today on the bench we've got a 1998 Epiphone made in Korea. Client bought this new in 1998 and hasn't played it in a while, so it's here for a setup. Let's have a good look at it. You know, standard Epiphone, Les Paul. So he did indicate to me that there's a problem with the electronics, the switch. So we'll have a look at that. The truss rod cover says Gibson. Epiphone Les Paul model. There you go. Got the vintage style tuners. There's a better shot of them from the back. The client wanted to change them, but we couldn't really find anything that would fit in the holes, so we'll keep looking. So this is a bolt-on neck, not a neck through. The Epiphone Company, Nashville, Tennessee. Handcrafted in Korea. Still has the inspection sticker on the electronics cover plate. Pretty cool. Alright, well, let's get working on it. Really hard to put that jack in. Something's blocking it for sure. So it makes noise. But there you go. The switch cuts out. Doesn't want to work in that bridge position. Lots of noise too. So there we go. We're in the shared position, the middle position, and only the neck's working. Yeah, so most likely we've got a switch and ground issue. So we'll have to have a closer look at that. Before we go there, let's see how this guitar is set up currently. Make sure the neck is in a good position. So we like to see between 10 and 12 thousandths at the 7th fret. Capo on the 1st. Hold down at the neck joint. So that's pretty good. It's a little tight, but not bad. So let's have a look at the truss rod. See if the nut is serviceable. Hasn't been played with or anything. It doesn't look like anything's ever been done in there, to be honest. And the client said he's never touched anything in all the years he's owned it, so let's have a peek inside. Well, I would definitely believe him. It's all that polishing compound, the original polishing compound, still inside. And the nut looks fine, so most likely it'll work okay. As long as there isn't some other hidden issue. It's 4mm. Yeah, so there we go. It loosens up nice. So that should be fine. Alright, well, let's tackle this electronics issue. We'll take off the switch cover plate first. So that's what it looks like inside. Nothing's ever been touched there. We'll take off the control cover plate now. Just have that little piece of dowel there to poke things out. So again, that looks like nothing's been touched. So here's a close-up of that input jack, and there's the problem. They've got that green connector, and it's right stuffed into the hole, right, the output jack hole. So I think we'll see it in the shot. It's pushing against the jack, right? I just can't get it in there. So I don't know. I guess it's been like that right from day one. we'll have to address that as well. Everything else looks like it's in place and where it should be, so let's take that jack cover plate off. It's just plastic. Always have a little bin nearby to put all the parts in so we don't lose them. Don't leave them on the bench, scratching stuff up. So let's have a peek at this here. Yeah, look at that. Get a little closer look. Yeah, we're going to take off the input jack here from the plate, jack plate, using these slim StewMac wrenches. So it's a 1/2 inch right there. And the input jack itself looks fine, and the wiring is okay. It's just that it's with that green connector, it's just stuffed in there, and you can't push the jack in, the instrument jack in. So you're gonna see right here the damage, right? Look at that. So because you're trying to push in all the time, it's just deformed that plate completely. I mean, it'd be nicer if it was metal, of course, but still. Yeah, so that's gonna have to be replaced. And we'll have to do something about the wiring there for sure. Alright, well let's tackle the selector switch now. Pretty sure that's the problem. The wiring for the pickups and control knobs looked fine in the control cavity, so. Look at that. It's corroded. Yeah. That's a cheap switch too, eh? So. Yeah, I'm not even going to test that or anything. We're just going to take that off, put a new one on. I don't think I've seen one corroded like that. They fail, you know, and you can't really tell from outside, but I mean, that one is really corroded. And the wiring's really pushed down into the channel there, so yeah, that's garbage. I'll take the little plastic knob off because that's aged. The color is aged, so maybe we'll use that with the new switch. All right, so here's the new switch. So Switchcraft, much nicer, much more appropriate for a Les Paul style guitar. So we'll tin up the contact lugs, ground lug, get those ready. And I'll solder the connections on. So this one gave me a bit of a hassle. I don't know why. But anyways, I got it in the end. I had to make that ground wire because the existing wiring was just too short. So we'll put that locking washer in. It's always got to remember to put that there because that really helps keep that switch in place and stop it from spinning around. So I'm going to pull some of that wire through into the control cavity as well. Doesn't look pretty there, but I prettied it up. Again, pull that through, and again, make sure that the orientation of the switch is correct, right? You want it up and down, not side to side or diagonal or anything like that. So I'll give it a test. Okay, that's good. That's the neck. This should be both. Yeah, that works. And this should be the bridge. Hey, eureka. There we go. Problem solved. Alright, we'll put that switch plate back on. Magnetic tip screwdrivers are great for all these little screws. find my fingers have a hard time grabbing at them. So magnetize your screwdriver tips if they aren't already. Make it a lot easier. Alright, let's look at this output jack. So what I'm going to have to do is make those leads longer. They're just getting in the way, right, as you try and push in the instrument jack. So I'm going to take those off. I'll basically just reproduce what's there, but just with longer leads, right? So the white is the output from the selector switch, and the black is the ground in this case. Very strange that it was like that, and right from day one it looks like from the factory, so the owner must have had a hard time plugging in for the last 23 years. Alright, I'll just get some of this sheathing off. And I'll just desolder it. And like I said, make those two leads longer. And I'll reproduce I'll reuse that little connector, the green connector, and there's lugs inside of there that I'll solder to and put it back. So there you go. See that little angled, sort of like a hook, right? It goes into the connector, and there's a metal square, sort of metal plate, little channel. You can see it on the cloth down there. But yeah, so we'll just make them longer. Get this back in the guitar. So there you go. That's better. No issues now. I'll just get this back into the green connector and wired up with the output wire from the selector switch that we repaired already. This got a little fiddly, but in the end I was able to get it done. So you just put those the lead wires, so the ground and the output, into that connector, and that the gray wire comes from the switch. And I'm going to put, so there you go, you can see wires do not interfere. That green connector does not interfere, so that's good. We'll just tuck that in there. So I got a new plate, plastic plate. It's white. It's not yellow, or yellowed, but it should age, or the client can change it out for a chrome one. I couldn't find one online because this is an old spec on these. So these are old import specs. So it was only plastic that was available. So this, I just had to make sure I oriented it correctly, because the cavity that the output jack slots into is kind of angled funny. Instead of being straight into the control cavity, it's on an angle, so everything's a little strange. Anyways, I spun it around a little bit, tested it, and found the right position, so it's good to go. I'll put that control plate back on. The original inspection sticker. Obviously whoever inspected this guitar didn't inspect that green connector properly, right? Maybe never plugged it in. So we're going to restring and do a whole setup. I'm just pointing out here that, you see, there's only one wrap around these posts. You need at least 2 or 3 to ensure decent tuning stability. So when we restring the guitar, we'll make sure there's at least 2 or 3 wraps. And these are short posts though, and I can see why someone might think there's not much room, but you can get at least 2 or 3 wraps on the wound strings here. Alright, so I'm going to take them off. I noticed something here when I was trying to take off the E string, the 6th string. You'll see it's stuck. It's literally stuck in the nut slot. Be pretty hard to tune that. So I suspect that that gauge of string is probably bigger than what is normally used for, it was cut out in that slot. So I did check it, and it was a 49, almost 50 gauge, and that's really big, because these, the client gave me 9 to 42s, I believe. We'll see in a minute. So that should be fine in the nut slot, but maybe that was a replacement string, right? A string broke, and that's all, sort of all you had type of thing, so you just use that. Oh, here we go. I was just measuring it. Let me see if maybe it's too fast, but whoa, that was too fast. Yeah, it was like 48, so it was much wider. So here I like to put a little piece of eraser, a little piece of rubber under the tailpiece, prevents it from falling off. There are no locks, no set screws on this tailpiece or springs. It would have just flopped right out. So I like to do that, and then cut the strings and just pull through just a short amount instead of the whole length of string. There we go. I'll leave that in place. I'll clean up the fretboard. Just using a very mild detergent, in this case Simple Green. Use anything that you like, that you have that's mild. Even just soap and water is very good as well. It's pretty dirty, so I just gave it a couple of sprays. Now I'm going to use the fret erasers, which I keep saying I have to clean or get some new ones. We have 4 grits here, so we'll work through those. They polish, they clean, and give a light polish to the frets, right? By no means is this a polish job, but it's definitely a good cleaning job. Makes a difference. And it's fast and relatively quick and easy. It does get out quite a few of the scratches and even some of the small indentations. A little clean. I always have a brush or two handy. Whoop, there it goes. Alright, a little Dunlop 65 to condition the fretboard. I like to put it on generously. Let it sit there for 15-20 seconds. And just start rubbing it in, rubbing it off, right? So a few passes with some paper towel. You don't want it soaking. I mean, this I don't think has been conditioned in years. So I was happy to drink it in. But you don't want a slick feeling fretboard with a lot of residue. So there we go. Yeah, so 42 gauge, right? So 9 to 42. So that E string, that 6 string that was on there, again, probably was a replacement, right? And it just wasn't the right gauge. Yeah, there you go. So let's get these on the guitar. I didn't straighten the neck or anything because I was taking the strings off and cleaning, the fretboard and putting the new strings on, in a short period of time, 15-20 minutes. So if I wasn't getting to this until the next day, I would definitely just straighten out the fretboard until the next day. I don't like leaving it without strings on for a prolonged period of time. Yeah, so give it a little pull through there. So I've got 2-3 wraps on there. I might revisit that, take one off. Yeah, there you go. I did take it off and redo it. So we've got 2.5 wraps for the E, A, and D string, the wound strings. These posts are really short, so there wasn't a ton of room underneath there. But that's better than just having half or less than one. Alright, we'll take that little piece of eraser out now that we're all strung up. And the tailpiece isn't going anywhere. So you gotta tune up after you string up. And then definitely like to stretch the strings out. Yeah, so give them a good heave. Go over them 3-4 times. Don't be afraid. More so on the wound strings than the plain strings, but it's a good idea to do that. So I left the guitar overnight. Next day, come back, and I'm going to check and see where the action is. So Les Pauls, you can measure it at the 12th fret, you can measure it at the 17th like a Strat. I like to see 4/64ths at the 17th. If you measure it at the 17th, like on a Strat, that means at the 12th fret, if it's at 4, it's actually going to be a little lower than 4. You know, it might be like 3.5 or 3 3/4, something like that. So the neck relief turned out to be quite nice, right in between 10 and 12 thousandths, so no adjustment necessary. So here we go. So now I'm going to check at the 17th, and we'll do 4/64ths at the 17th fret. Now you can cheat down the first string a little bit. Now of course your Les Paul with a tunematic, you only have 2 adjustments, right? Both E strings, up or down. So we're going to have 4/64ths as the measurement at the 1st and the 6th string. And then we'll see how it plays. I mean, if there's any buzzing, then you can raise it up a little bit, and I'll check the frets and the crown, see if there's any issue with the frets. Use a fret rocker, but in this case there wasn't any buzzing and the frets were fine. Next step is intonation. So again, you hit the open string, tune it up, hit the harmonic, and then the fretted note. So here it's a little bit sharp. Again, with new strings, the intonation I find, you know, it's not very reliable. Yeah, a little flat. There's the D, tune that up. There's the harmonic. Yeah, a little flat. Oh, that's sharp. The B, a little bit sharp. And the first string, sharp as well. So, I have a little intonation to do. So I did all the strings, but I'll just show you, like, of course with the Les Paul style, you've got a screw at the front or at the back of the saddle, depending on the version. And you move it back to lengthen the string, you move it forward to shorten it, right? So let's see if we can get this close. So always detune on these saddles, because honestly, you're going to rip through a string or bust it. But it's with a Telecaster or a Strat, sometimes you don't have to detune as much, but with definitely the Les Paul I would. So now I like to check and see if our tailpiece ice is good and we don't have any strings touching the saddle, and use a little piece of paper, and there you go, nothing's touching, so that's good. If it was touching, it can actually affect the sound of the string. You can get buzzing or some weird sort of harmonic. Alright, let's check the pickup height. So using my gauge, 1/8 on the bass side, 3/32 on the treble side. Of course, that's the measurement from the underside of the string to the top of the pole piece, or the cover if there weren't screws, you know, sticking out like they are here. And you can see these pickups, you know, they don't sit flat, they sit at an angle, but there's not much I can do about that. Alright, last thing I'll check here is the action at the first fret, so the nut action, and that's actually pretty good. It's about 22 thousandths, 22 thousandths. We won't touch that, and honestly, I really wouldn't want to do anything with that nut because it's very fragile. I did notice a very small hairline crack behind the B string. I told the client about it, so we might have to change the nut on this guitar if he starts playing it a lot. Alright, so here's the end. We'll put that truss rod cover on and it's done. So thanks again for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, so I'll keep making these videos. I enjoy making them, and from the comments I get, you guys seem to enjoy watching them as well, so that's awesome. We'll clip those strings and we'll call it a day. So hope to see you for the next project. Take care, stay safe, stay healthy. Bye for now.